started, because we don't have a ton of time and we have a lot of material to get through. Thank you for coming. My name is Hatlen. I'm the managing director for New Paradise Laboratories. This is Whit McLaughlin, the artistic director and founder of New Paradise, and Katy Otto, who's our connectivity director. In thinking about some of the ideas that we've been hearing about over the past day and a half or so around this audience revolution, we wanted to tell you a little bit about New Paradise and our company. For those of you who may not be familiar, we've been interested in exploring a model that explores multiple points of entry for audience to engage with our work, including using theatrical ideas, including using theatrical ideas to introduce the internet in an artistic way. And we're targeting an audience of internet natives, or digital natives, they're called. And we're trying to meet them where they are already, rather than bringing them into the theater. Well, anyway, so we're trying to find ways to merge artistic content with marketing as an expression of our mission. I want to give a little bit of background about NPL and provide some context, and then Whit's going to talk specifically about a couple of projects that we've done. And Katy, our connectivity director, will speak about how we see connectivity and how it all ties everything, all these different artistic initiatives that we've been doing, ties them all together. So let's start at the beginning with our mission. How do I get this to go?
Oops, not there.
It's not there.
You can read. We don't have a mission.
Where'd it go? Oh, I thought you copied it.
I see. Can you read it?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just read our mission. How about that? New Paradise is an experimental performance ensemble that explores radical means of expression to bend and reshape conventional ideas of theater. Our core subject is human presence in all of its manifestations. And I was thinking about how they try to narrow down a mission into an action. And basically what ours is to create mind-blowing experiences. And I want to just give a little bit of background about New Paradise and how we got here. New Paradise was founded in 1996 by Whit and a group of young performers that he'd been working with in Southern Virginia. We're based in Philadelphia. The roots of the company are an experimental, devised physical theater. It's very rooted in physical presence, the human body, space, history, utopian ideals, and the work, it's got a very distinct style. It's heavily influenced by visual art and philosophy. It's immersive, and for some audiences it can be kind of overwhelming. The artists that we work with over time are pretty varied in their backgrounds. We work with performers and designers and musicians. We also work with web designers. The web designers are actually at the table in the beginning of a devising process with us. Architects, visual artists, media designers, and sometimes we actually work with playwrights too. So our audiences tend to be younger, college, post-college, young professionals, artists, people interested in both our content and also that very immersive style of work. We've created 19 works over the past 15, going on 16 years. We've been commissioned for a work for adult audiences by the Humana Festival, as well as a work for teen audiences by the Children's Theater Company of Minneapolis. And we've won an Obie Award and had features in American theater on our explorations in a variety of media. We're project-driven. We don't have a regular season, and we're a small organization. We have a staff of 4, and and we work with a variety of consultants and contractors as well. Since we don't have a space or a large staff to support, it allows us to be pretty flexible, and so we kind of see our place in the larger arts and theater community as one that we have a duty, really, to take on high-risk, high-idea ventures, because we can. And we think of our work as research, And tickets, since we're often presented by larger organizations, ticket sales are not generally a large part of our season. So for the first 10 years or so, we made pieces with this ensemble, got presented, developed work. Let me show you some of the slides here. Some of these slides will give you an idea of the visual style of the work. And then in 2007, we became interested in the possibilities of using the web as a tool for artistic expression. And we started asking a few questions. Can we use the tools that digital natives use every day to reach them with artistic content? So in essence, how can we, as theater artists, prepare for a theater of the future that connects with this new generation of digital natives and bring artistic ideas to them? Can marketing and artistic offerings overlap? Do we need to think of marketing and artistic content as separate things? Or is there a way to merge them into a unified way of expressing our mission? And is it useful to do that? And is there a way that we as a theater can reach outside our theater audiences and bring new audiences into our work? And think of people who may never come to one of our plays as part of our audience. So these questions led to the creation of a piece called Fate Book in 2009. And that was a piece that could be seen by audiences both online and in real space. It was not a broadcast. It was, there was content that was online that was related to the live performance. And then in 2011, we followed up with that piece with our most ambitious project ever, Extremely Public Displays of Privacy, which is a piece that existed online and in a downloaded video walking tour through Philadelphia, as well as in a live concert in Philadelphia. And Whit is going to show you a little bit more about that. Also at the same time, in 2011, we launched a website called Frame, and it integrates our live and online performances into a kind of internet performance, expression of mission, kind of idea box. And in Frame, we share our source material, we invite audiences in to share their ideas, and it's kind of an aesthetic conversation. We're continuing to develop Frame as a place where the artists and audience can gather to exchange ideas and share material in a kind of non-traditional way. So during all this, and as recently as last fall, we continued to make our more conventional, physical, in-the-room theater pieces, where, as in, you buy a ticket, you go to a place, you sit in a seat and you watch a show. So, so we still are making those pieces, and we're kind of now at that point where we're trying to organically merge these live, live in-the-room pieces with our online work and kind of find a way where they merge and complement each other. So Whit is going to introduce a couple of our pieces.
Thanks. Yeah, so as you can see, I think one of the hallmarks of our work has been this idea that we can take the theater, the darkened room that we all are pretty much in love with, and think of theater as not something that has to be in that room, and we all understand about sites, but is it possible that the internet can be a site for the delivery of theater, and as Ingrid said, not broadcast, but like really speak an internet language and translate the ideas of playwriting or the producerial ideas into a kind of a web-based delivery. This means that we have to imagine that we have an audience for our work, as Ingrid said, that will never set foot into our darkened room. Can we call those people an audience? In some way, are we delivering through our outreach a kind of artistic content that's dense enough and engaging enough on some level that they return to it over and over again? I think the word is not in. We're still messing with it quite a bit. And audiences there's a lot of work that we're trying to do to educate ourselves and people that we're talking to about how to watch this kind of thing and what you do. This photograph here is from Extremely Public Displays of Privacy, which, as Inger said, Act 2 was out on the street, and it was a mobile, phone-delivered kind of story in Act 2. Let me go to that real quickly. This is live here, the website for Extremely Public Displays of Privacy. If you were to log on to this, and you don't have to log on, but this is really the whole website right here, and it would do a couple of little tricks when you went there that I've disabled now because I don't want to have the gateway problem here. So this is all unlocked. This is what it looks like unlocked, but there's some bells and whistles that happen if you were to go there. And what you see, there's 3 acts. Extremely is Act 1, extremely public. Act 2 is displays, and that's the walking tour. And then Act 3 is privacy. So there are points of entry here that are challenging for audiences. They have to have certain, like awesome browsers. They have to plug in headphones. They have to, typically there was an FYI that people would go to, and my sister never watched this show because she got to the FYI and she said, oh, does that mean I have to do the things that are in the FYI in order to get to the content? And I said, yeah, that's the point, and so there was a big gap between what she knew how to do and what people could see. So let me just explain very briefly. Act 1 is a series of music videos that unload with each, when you click on each letter. So for instance, this is 1. Yeah, that was a huge question. Should we roll it out in sequence, or should you be able to sort of cruise it? And so what like whether to put a load bar. For a while we didn't put the load bar in because it was more mysterious, but audiences went crazy because they didn't know how long the experience was going to take. And ultimately, it was a 6-hour thing we were asking the audience to do. It was like Led Zeppelin releasing 3 CDs at the same time as their first CD. So it was like, it was stupid from a certain kind of marketing perspective, and we made it so that they could go to Act 1 and not see Act 2, or then go to Act 3 and go back to Act 2. We should have just gone, it's a 6-hour experience, folks. Give us your money, start at the beginning, and we'll give you a log on. Anyway, so it's 2 women who meet each other online and start talking to each other and begin to, the younger one remixes all of the older one's stuff online and then delivers it back. So this is a song that the older one wrote. And so this kind of stuff goes all the way through. Just real quick, we'll get to questions, I promise, if I dash. Just one other thing I want to show you in this first act. There's a cool place here called the Rabbit Hole that's actually 4 websites that you can dive into. I mean, there's a lot of depth in the experience, or you can skim the surface. But if you wanted to, you could go to these 4 different blog sites. You could hear music with comment. You could go, there's this interesting art project that I'll be happy to tell you about called My Night With You, which was one of the characters sort of had an art practice of hooking up with people and then surreptitiously taking photos of them and then breaking up with them the next day very publicly, and then the men could go to a site and see themselves like delivered this way. It was very perverse, but in some ways the piece was a little bit based on Persona, the Bergman film. All right, so Act 2 was this sound and video walk. It led you, one of the characters led you on a walk through downtown Philadelphia, and so you watched your mobile phone like this and wandered around, and then and you'd look at a tree, but you're seeing that same tree. It's a little Janet Cardiff, if you know that sound and video artist. We are influenced by them, but it's a little more rock and roll. Cars would go by playing the song of one of the characters, and this was all woven into the sound score. And then Act 3 was you were led to a poster downtown that showed you where the concert was going to be. So now you can watch the concert recorded. For some reason, it's not coming up. There it goes. It's not coming up. And we made an album of all the songs in the show that's delivered through a USB thing. So if you bought the album, you could put it into your computer, and it would just download off of this cool little USB card. So it's, so it's a musical delivered through the internet and live. So, and a very intimate experience. We're interested in seeing if soul can be imported into the web. Is there such a thing as depth in the internet? Because I would almost maintain it's all breadth, not much depth. So, if we're going to do theater online, it should have depth. I have just one more thing I want to take you through, like in a dash here. That's extremely public displays in the 2-second version. How am I doing time-wise, guys? We're okay? All right, so this is our frame site. We decided that what we wanted to do, Marcel Duchamp is like a huge presence in Philadelphia for various reasons. If you ever get a chance, go to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Marcel Duchamp, the lion's share of his work is housed there, along with some really important, amazing pieces. So my daughters have been raised on Marcel Duchamp, but I like his green box. He took all of his research and put it in a box and said, this is a work of art. And put a frame around it, and it transformed into something very interesting, I think. So we thought, wow, could we make a website that had our institutional information, but that was a performance over time that people would come to repeatedly. It should be noted that our work's difficult in the sort of lexicon of difficult, that we're always trying to give audience a friendly, generous toehold into our thought process. It ain't always easy. And part about brand is that when you get to be a strong brand, a lot of people are going to bounce off your brand, and we've decided that's A-okay. All right, so the Frame website basically has all of our institutional material up here, kind of like the top of the Google page. It's like just this little bar, and there's this whole thing about how to use this site. But basically what it is, it's all this stuff that we find and curate into the site. So it's kind of a performative exhibition of our mission as stated by the whole world, if that makes sense. So here's the back button, but it doesn't tell you. Here is a more inside, there's a page curl that if I check underneath, it has, oops, come back. I want to see you beach balling. People post stuff underneath that they find to respond to our stuff. And it's curated by a fictional character that I've invented named Tenzin Rothko. And the curators all have odd names and odd proclivities. And if you pay enough attention, you'll kind of get a feel for them, but you don't have to. You can just come here and cruise. So that's our institutional website. It's like some people love it, and some people go, what is that? And we've taken to recently, in the analytics, we can tell who's following us. And we can see, oh my God, somebody in Tasmania, 4 people in Tasmania watched it for like 16 minutes, which is a huge amount of time, and over a 2 or 3 day period. So then we shout out to them, like, we want to meet you. And so the people who aren't in Tasmania get to see what the reach is. We're a tiny experimental theater company, under $500,000 a year, and Frame, in the year and a half that we've been working on it, went through beta, now it's in full release, and now we're doing another remake on it, has performed, and you could argue these numbers, but the numbers, it's like for over 50,000 people. It amounts to about 125 to 225 a day come to the Frame website. 1/3 of them are returning guests. And you know, for a small experimental theater company, that ain't Lady Gaga, but it is a substantial number, we feel. Okay, hallmarks of this is that they don't pay. We get other people to pay for this. And is it worth it? What is it doing? Does this in some way augment our live work? We embed a lot of stuff in here. When we do a show, there's another button up here that goes, if we're doing a show called 27, there'd be a 27 button, and you'd get an augmented feed. So there's like something that you can watch. We put all our material in there, et cetera, and you can kind of see how we track shows. Last thing I'll say is, we're at this point now, National Theatre Scotland is doing some really interesting things with the events surrounding events. And so they approach us, and we're thinking about with them, and they are already doing this, creating these sort of cyber events around live events. And I really think that's where we're heading. I'm not sure which is the main event and which is the sideshow, but there are online live events that you might never come to see, but that someone, just the other day we heard from somebody in Las Vegas who we sent a survey. This person said that they had seen 27 because we had posted the entire video up online. They could watch it there, but they felt like they had seen our work by having spent all this time in our web materials. So that's one person. I don't know if that's significant. It's significant to us over time. Just so you know, too, one other thing is Extremely Public Displays downloaded in the first 5 days of its time frame. About 6,000 people downloaded it. About 460 went through Act 2, and I don't have off the top of my head Act 3 how many people came to see it, but there's a huge disparity between getting through the experience, moving to the second one, and then to the third. So I think we have click-through problems. I think we have, you know, the things that Amazon pays billions of dollars to figure out how to get you to click once and you buy that thing with one click. Experts figure this stuff out, and it's expensive. So we'll answer some questions when we get to it. Thanks. You want to?
Hi, I'm Katy, Otto, and I am very new to the theater world. Actually, this is the first theater-related job I've ever had, and I met New Paradise because I was a viewer of Extremely Public Displays of Privacy, and so my background is that I've been playing music since I was a teenager and touring, and I run a small record label. And a friend of mine said, you might want to check this out, and so I thought I was going to spend a few seconds, and I ended up really falling into this piece. And as someone who really relates to performance and experience, it resonated with me. I didn't really think, she didn't describe it to me as a theater piece. She just said, there's this cool thing you need to see. And I trust her judgment. So I also do a lot of blogging and communications work. And so I wrote to the company and asked if I could do an interview for a blog about the process and what it was like to create it. So I interviewed Whit and one of the actresses in the piece, and then became very excited by this process and what was happening, and started working at New Paradise. I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about some of what we've seen as challenges. We've been trying to intrude this work in more and more spaces. So part of what my job is to look at how to get this out through a variety of different outlets. We do have sort of the regular social media platforms. We have a company Facebook page and a Twitter handle, and we've also started a blog, but we wanted to do these things intentionally. And I think someone made a good comment to me yesterday about, not just starting a blog for the sake of a blog, but what could a blog do? And I realized that there were some people that were following the work that were very interested in the development process, and that for the last piece we did actually in the room 27, there were people that wanted to know how the ensemble came about this piece. And so we did a series of interviews, and that was a good point of entry for those folks. For some folks, what's really captivating is the visual images. So trying to pay attention to what we post on Twitter or Facebook, and could we use images that were arresting enough to grab someone's attention? To me, that's kind of also some of the crossover of drawing from multidisciplinary sources. I guess one of the challenges is how to make sure that all of those platforms are reaching out to different segments and in ways that people like, but also that they have a continuity of voice. So that's something that we're always trying to go back to this mission. And when I'm doing this connectivity, I'm thinking about the, shocks to the system and mind-blowing experiences and really cultivating the curiosity of other people that might experience this and see this. And what I would really hope was that it would be, someone described to us finding this website, and this is, that for Frame, is I think it's both a challenge and an asset, that she said, well, the website's kind of like dessert to me. There isn't really any reason I have to go there, but it's what I go to when I want a little something else. And I guess in terms of connecting with audiences, we've also been doing a series of one-on-one meetings, because I think a lot of how some of the richness of the content can be communicated is if we actually have these in-person conversations. So just looking for different creative people, different communities, different people who express interest in the work, and going and having coffee with them and kind of walking them through some of this, and then asking them what they like and what they don't like. And those folks are usually actually the best ambassadors, because then they sort of have more of an understanding of the work. We've also created, I think, our connectivity has been these multiple platforms by which we can engage people, meeting people in person, and then the third aspect of it that's exciting to me is almost this feedback loop, where there are places where an audience member can give us their response, and we're small enough and agile enough that we can adapt, we can use that. It was exciting to me when I started with the company that the pieces, like with Fatebook and also 27, the auditions themselves were done online. So there's this real idea of getting the people interested in auditioning to gain the skills of making a beautiful small piece of art that can take up space on the internet. And so I guess that's kind of what I've been doing. I think. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's kind of an overview. Does anybody have any questions? It's covered a lot of territory here. So.
How much of your audience is?
They're asking that you do this because they're recording. Yeah. Thanks.
How much of your audience is digital versus how much of your audience is in person?
Well, we like to do pieces at larger theaters who have much more reach than we do. A piece that we did in Minneapolis had an audience of 30,000. We could never muster that, and I don't think we have the impulse to build that kind of organization. So, if 2,000 people come to a piece here in Philadelphia, we're very happy. But our internet work has a reach into 180 countries right now that seems substantial, that we actually follow, and we're trying to understand who these people are and how they get there. We're trying to respond to people we will never meet, and I think we're happy to call them our audience. The impact of the online versus the numbers in the actual darkened space, there's a lot of disparity there. So we're trying to figure out how to convert. Is there a conversion process? Is the idea of conversion really not appropriate here?
Do you mean butts and seats is higher than?
No, it's online is much higher than butts and seats.
And roughly, what is that audience?
Well, as I said, it's like in the last year, we had 800 people a year coming to our website prior to launching Frame. Now it's like 60,000 and 2,000. But all over the world and Philadelphia, you know. So I think there's a salutary crossover effect, which we're trying to understand and learn how to maximize. But it's not like there's a lot of, there's no textbook really. Although I think one thing that Katy said that was really interesting to me, a lot of our connecting now is to people who don't have a dollar in their pocket to come to a play. We're not competing for their dollar. It's like the other day we had a great one-on-one with this guy who started an ice cream brand in town called Little Babies, and they put out a video that got 3 million hits on YouTube, and they've just been like a rocket ship. This guy got what we were doing to a certain extent. Although he said, yeah, I'm going to see Les Mis at the movies tonight. That was his theatrical experience. But yet, there was a connection point because of how he had thought of his own brand. And so I like those kind of people. We learn a lot from his voice, you know, and you know, hopefully this is, you know, sort of getting compiled into a database that can somehow, anecdotally at least, be of use to other people.
I was just wondering about the concept of you're doing art on the stage live for those people in the dark room, and how putting it on the internet changes. Does it change what you do, or are you doing the same thing as just on a visual thing, or are you changing the way you conceive or present your material? I mean, in some ways, I think you're luckier and more suitable for this kind of work, this kind of transfer from the stage to the internet than more traditional theater companies.
Well, you know, I would just bring your attention to National Theatre Scotland, who are creating, surrounding a play that has traditional or conventional producing at its core. They're creating these experiences that you can engage with online. Now, you don't pay for that, but hopefully there's a synergy between that thing. And I think the interesting thing is they're not going online to talk about their work, to get you to come to the thing. They are giving you their work online. It is their marketing equals art. And so that would be the idea that I would hope to impart to ourselves and to others, is that at some point, you know, that's why we like, you know, this, we actually rehearse online, and I could tell you how that works, but, and people, the actors post videos that they have made using themselves online on themes, and that becomes part of the show. You can see performance that is outreach, that is marketing, I don't know. It's like engaging and building relationships, and then they become the principal marketing voice of our organization because they have something to show that they made that then gets its own audience. And then so that's what connectivity is for us, is trying to stitch that together into a common voice. Because it's over here, it's over here, it's over here, it's over here, it's over here. Where are we? And I think that's the challenge. Yeah, so it you know, like real quick, I can see, where is it? Here it is. This is our most recent piece. It's called 27. It's about the 27 Club of Dead Rock Geniuses. It's not really about them. It's really about purgatory or something. And it's loud. It's insouciant. It's almost like a dance. And we had one of the characters made a Facebook character that many people followed and started to fall in love with. It was weird. And sometimes we use Facebook as a tool for character development when we're creating characters. And so I don't know if, like if you were to enter this somewhere, see what happens here. I don't know if this, this isn't like made for, so there's there's a music component to our work that is imminently deliverable online. So yes, that's we're trying to create that synergy with, between a self-produced album, self-produced music videos that comprise a kind of story. It's using internet language to tell theatrical stories. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I am short. Is this, so along those lines, like when you use Facebook as a character development page, how do you balance that with making sure that people associate that content with your company? One thing that we've been playing with is that same idea of character development prior to people coming in using Facebook, but we've been a little afraid to venture away from our personal Facebook page into creating fictional characters. That makes sense.
Yeah, I hear that. Let me show you a little bit about, this is Fatebook. This was our first, attempt at a cyber piece, right?
Yeah.
And it had...
6 years ago. I mean, things change.
Yeah, and I could tell you why we did this, but, there's like 13 characters. Each one of them has let's see. If you click on any of these, you can go to the different, what am I looking for here? You can go to the different pages of each character, and then you get a little YouTube video that they made of themselves. You can friend them on Facebook, the fake character, and then you can follow them on Twitter. And when we went, if you go, now this is going to look like butt because I don't even know if it's going to happen, because Facebook has changed since this was created. So we did this thing when Facebook was here. There was a beautiful sort of, each character had a branded look. So, we created a kind of a brand for each one so that, and a photograph kind of went into each page and these are still functioning. Like weirdly, people still post to these. Like the show was like, what, 5 years ago, yeah. And my docent character, I had a sort of a proxy, this Tenson Rothko, who I personally wrote, I think, 1,600 individual messages to everybody I knew. And they all friended in, and then I sort of, if they wanted to, I could give them, make suggestions as to which characters to follow first, and then you could kind of see how the characters were linked. But it took a fair bit of initiative from you, not as easy as just kind of posting.
And it's labor intensive. I mean, you don't kind of do a couple things and get 1,000 people. It's really a real one-on-one. The internet work is still that very one-on-one relationship building.
Right, but how do they know it's a new Paradise Lab situation without breaking sort of the illusion of that character? If that makes sense.
We don't break the illusion of the character. I mean, and I think and then it's your friend who is playing Clayton who tells you to friend Clayton, and then Clayton is now, then you begin to, it unfolds and you can sort of, and there were people who were crazy for this. And then we had parties during the course, it was 3 months lead up to the live show. We had parties where 300 people would come to meet the characters. And they were masquerade parties, but the only costume they wore was like a name tag with a fictional name. So we made everybody choose a fake name, and it kind of made for cool parties, you know, it was a cool party.
And you all are in control of the branding, so like even the videos that they're posting as characters, it's all quality controlled through.
I would say, what?
Most of it, yeah.
Most, I mean, yeah, I mean, like we got a little crazy about that. Like more recently, it's been a little more, you know, just put some, you know, like we want to see what you do. And, you know, I'm not sure we've figured out that equation between a self-made self-expression and how it fits into the overall characteristic. We're dealing with that on frame now, too. Yes, sir.
Was there any issues of censorship at all? Like if somebody did something and said, oh, here I am naked?
Oh, man. Well, yeah, but, you know, like we're also like, we don't care about that. You know, like we just like do whatever you want. I mean, and people did. I mean, you know, it's like we came up with a little phrase in-house, like if you do something in fiction world, you are 15% freer to do whatever you want. And so, like, fictional characters is what brought down Friendster. That was one of the first social networks. And so Facebook does not want you to do this. In fact, we got money from a local foundation that ran this through legal in retrospect because we were defying the terms of service from Facebook. Facebook, there's authenticity and verification. Like, I think you can be an authentic version of yourself as a fiction, but you don't have a credit card. And it's verification that they're interested in because they want, this is a commercial site, 100%, 150%. And New Paradise Laboratories believes that if we allow the internet to fall 150% to the dogs of commerce, and we're one of those dogs, then we're like saying, we're selling ads on the Gutenberg Bible Press. You know, like first.
How did you legally get around?
We're done.
We have to
Yeah,
we
we're
have to
done.
talk.
Sorry.
We'll be happy to. Legally, there's a lot of issues there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.